I love that time of wrestling and trying to understand and being willing to open up things and like go to weird places.
My guest today is Sook-Yin Lee, the writer and director of the new film Paying for It.
Is this your first time?
This is about what you want.
I want to have vaginal intercourse with you.
Okay. You look happy.
I just saw a prostitute. It's my real name.
Chester Brown.
Hi, Sook-Yin.
Hello, Peter.
Thanks so much for coming by.
I'm very surreal. It's very surreal to be here.
Oh yeah, because you've been in this building many times.
Yeah. I've lived and breathed the hallways of this building, and so walking up here is like, woo, it's sort of like altered reality, and now I'm here in this reality, in your space.
Yeah, well,
with your plant.
Yeah, with plants.
Amazing.
Well, I am so excited to ask you about this wonderful film, Paying for It, which is an adaptation of Chester Brown's graphic novel of the same name, a novel that you are very much a character in. And I just felt that this movie is such a love letter to your relationship with Chester and to Chester himself. And I just wanted maybe to start off, for those that aren't aware, maybe if you could tell us the origin story of your relationship with Chester.
Sure, yeah. So Chester Brown is a fantastic cartoonist. He's also my family. I've known him for a long time. He's my best friend. He was my first significant love of my life. And in 2011, he came out with an extraordinary book. It was called Paying for It, a graphic novel, and it really spoke to me. It was about his exploration of paying for sex in the late 90s in Toronto as a John, and it was pretty much like a political tract on the decriminalization of consensual sex work, because as Chester went into the world and met people, he saw the sort of disparity in terms of like lack of rights that sex workers are afforded, and essentially it was a political treatise around those ideas. And to me, they had everything to do with not only sex worker rights but also labor rights and women's rights, POC rights, LGBTQ2SIA rights.
Yeah.
There's a kind of like, he articulated the same trajectory of gay liberation that sex workers are on as well. So I was like, this is a very meaningful book. And also brave, because I know him, he's very shy and nerdy, that he actually went into that world as somebody who has no ability to flirt and explore that and share what he learned and then come out the other side with this incredible memoir. So I asked him if I could turn it into a movie. And because we were very close, he said, yes, okay, no problem. And I began to try to adapt the graphic novel, but it proved to be very difficult. His novel was very much about his perspective. And he just, I'm wearing these glasses because my eyes are really dry, because I've been
really
burning
cool.
the midnight oil.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to be, well, I'm trying to look like Wong Kar-wai, but you know.
No, it's totally working for you.
Okay,
Don't worry about it at all.
So anyway, so I was a character in the book. We were a couple for a long time, and as the romantic aspect of our relationship began to fade, and I moved to from Vancouver to Toronto to work at Much Music, I just, as a young person, was like, do you want to open up our relationship? Like, Vancouver, everyone was swinging.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm sure, like, adapting something that's so deeply personal, but also nostalgic, like, you're going back to a moment in your life 25 years ago. What was sort of emotionally the process of going back to a time in not just Chester's life, but your own, and turning that into, a thoughtful film?
To revisit that era was quite nice for me.
Oh, good.
There's something about, because people are surprised about that, because like the material is, it's a comedy, but it's a drama.
Yeah.
And some of the difficulties that we experience they're heavy and very strange and difficult and extremely awkward. And so a lot of people say, oh, that must have been really hard. But I love that time of wrestling and trying to understand and being willing to open up things and like go to weird places.
Yeah.
And I also have a great fondness for Chester. So, I really feel so happy that he's been in my life, and he's just a very beautiful person. So I think about all those things that happen, and it's with delight.
And I mean, like, this, I don't think this is a spoiler, but one of the end cards of the film says that the two of you are still best friends, which to me is just, A, is very lovely. B, I think is really rare. Like, I think I wish I was best friends with any of my exes. And I mean, he's obviously much more to you than an ex at this point.
Well, it's so funny because it's like we're very different. He's extremely restrained, logical, and thoughtful, judicious, fair-minded, academic. I'm a hothead, and I lead by my heart and through relationships. And I think it's that kind of like chemistry that this movie kind of, when you just read the comic, it's very eggheady and very. It's brilliant. But then the movie has this other thing, and it's really a combination of us.
Well, I mean, now you've both made these beautiful works of art about your relationship, which is like such a beautiful thing that not too many people get to say.
It's pretty sweet. Like, I felt a huge pressure because I wanted him to like it, and it was hard. It's hard to make it,
Sure.
and so he loves it, and so I'm like, oh, thank God. Collective sigh of relief. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy.
Well, I mean, another reason for you to be proud of it is just how such a moving and humanizing portrait of sex work is in the film. And I'm just curious, through the process of the research you did, like what you learned about what it means to be a sex worker in 2024, especially since it's been 13 years since that book was originally sort of talking about that topic.
Yeah, I mean, I show it like the decriminalization argument that Chester began so many years ago is still very rich. And now, though, there's an interesting time in our lives where we can't talk about swinging on your show, on CBC,
Yeah.
and then we can talk about sex work rights. And there's a zeitgeist, and we just scratched the surface. Like, this movie is radical because it's from a John's perspective. And as you know, in cinema, not only are sex workers rendered to two-dimensional characters similar to gay characters, they end up dead, beaten, or they're villains, like some weird stuff, stereotypical stuff. And Johns as well, they're stupid, they're horrible, they're dum-dums, or they're mouth breathers. And so we really lack a kind of like nuanced portrait of a John. And so also we lack nuanced portraits of sex work. And really mine is just scratching the surface because it's primarily a portrait of a John with sex work involved, but then also really a portrait of a couple navigating choices.
That's great. And I want to go back to Short Bus, which is a film I hold very near and dear to my heart. It came out in 2006, and obviously your performance is iconic in it. And you mentioned that John Cameron Mitchell is an executive producer on Paying for It.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, and you got into it a bit, but what your experience on that film informed in terms of this film? Because both films, they're very different films, obviously, but both are very sex positive and explore sort of interrelationships in terms of sexuality.
Yes, and John and I both are really interested in care and human connection and disconnection and all of those sort of minutiae. And we love making people laugh. We're both quite entertaining, and then there's also sort of sociopolitical implications and influences and inspirations to our work. So there's something, I mean, he really loves the film too. So, and he's always been a great sounding board for me. I can call him up, and he's always really wonderful and gives me wonderful notes and very insightful. And he's very, very encouraging. So there's just lifelong relationships. I feel that art saved my life, and in meeting people who are my collaborators, they're my extended family.
Yeah, I mean, whether that's Chester Brown or John Cameron Mitchell, you clearly have gotten a lot of that in your life, which is just that's a beautiful thing, professionally or just sort of personally.
Yeah, that's so true. Very lucky.
I'm so excited for people to see that on screen and Paying for It, and congratulations again on the film.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks for stopping by. 2, 1.